Hi, I'm going to work on this mix of my cool red, temperature-wise, cool pinkish, and my what I'm also going to call cool blue, and that's going to be my ultramarine blue. If you have been taught that ultramarine blue is warm, see some of my other videos and write me an email or comment or something. I've been blabbing about that way too much, but anyways, the upshot is that there's really not agreement on that, but I'm going to use my ultramarine blue here, which is closer to purple, so it's going to help mix purples because it's already part way there. So I've done single layer on all of them. The top one I've done second layer of Quinn Rose. So I'm going to come back here and just put on a second layer of the ultramarine blue. Once again, seems a touch watery. I'm going to put a little bit more concentrated pigment into that mix that I was doing and bring in a little bit more. We'll see how that goes, and everything is tilted, so gravity is helping us out. Let's see. Let's do the one in the middle, which is basically trying to be as violet of a mix as we can make with these two colors. So let's see, this is my Quinn Rose here. I'm going to bring in some of that. And back here to my ultramarine blue. That's pretty. I'm not sure that that's... Yeah, actually, that does seem pretty close to the middle. Maybe a touch more blue. Yeah, I like that a little bit more. If you can tell on this first layer, my first layer was too blue, so I just did a very watery layer over the whole thing. You can tell there's a layer because I wasn't exact. So there's a layer of very watery Quinn Rose on top of that. So that was glazing with single colors, which is glazing, I feel like, at its most elemental or rudimentary, because it's visually mixing things. The layers are interacting with light and the paper and the pigment, and that's kind of a unique thing to, well, more to watercolors than most other mediums, and can have an effect that, if you can see over here, that I don't know how well you can see it, but it makes things a little bit more involved and complex, and sometimes that's exactly what you want, sometimes it's not. But it does have a way of making things an interesting combination and just more interest going on in any given shape that you've created with different colors with glazing, as opposed to just mixing on the palette. Speaking of mixing on the palette, though, I'm going to come over here and shift a little bit there, and then go to bring in some more Quinn Rose. And so this will be sort of reddish purple. Nice. Let's soak you up there. And let's come down here to mostly ultramarine blue, but a little bit of Quin Rose to make this bluish purple. That is seeming a little too watery. I'm going to try to adjust it a little bit with a little bit more concentrated pigment. This can be tricky to match the color as well as make it just slightly more concentrated. And actually it's not that tricky because the whole thing is still nice and wet. So I'm just going to bring in with a soft brush and a soft application. Let's see, this up here, if I don't get rid of that, that's going to make a background as it dries. This might, but probably not. I'll soak up a little. Yeah. I'm going to keep recording, see what happens here. But on the right side of this swatch study, what I have is a little bit of a different cool red, which is has always been one of my favorites, and it seems like unloved for some reason. But it's Quinacridone Pink by Daniel Smith, and it's a little bit more towards magenta, and the Quinacridone Rose by M. Graham is a little bit more towards sort of a middle red. It's definitely rose and cool, but not as magenta as the Quinacridone Pink. And one of the impacts of that is that it can make for an even cleaner purple, because it's even sort of closer to purple. And in fact, let's see, I'll still bring in, I'm still using ultramarine blue, but I'm going to try to sort of just lay a purple. I've messed up my sequence. I was supposed to go to just blue, but kind of wanted to demonstrate this to see how much difference it seems like there is in the intensity of the purple and just the clarity, how purely saturated it is to a rainbow kind of color. Let me see, let's go back to just the ultramarine blue to get a second layer of that in. Might be a little bit too thick. No, it's okay. Yeah, if anything, too watery. Let's see, so how about the reddish violet, reddish purple? And I'm trying to make sure that, you know, the hues are that I'm comparing apples to apples, that might be a little bit too... I don't know. The mix of the Quinn Rose and Ultramarine Blue I think is great, especially if you're trying to keep your reds to a minimum. Actually, all your paints to a minimum. But this can make I feel like some things will start to sort of lean towards brown, a little bit muddy, and that's because the Quinn Rose over here is not as purpley, not as quite as cool as temperature-wise as what will make the cleanest mixes. Let me see. But there are plenty of other reasons why I like the Quinn Rose by M. Graham, especially when you're trying to have, like I mentioned, kind of a limited palette. It's a great. If all you have is one red, especially, I definitely recommend just having Quinn Rose. I think as we start to build up the layers as well, it will probably be a little bit more clear, just kind of the differences, subtle differences that a little bit of the more magenta quinacridone pink will have when I'm making these mixes. It sure looks a lot more intense here in this second layer. That I'm not sure if that's like a fair comparison. It might just be that I put stronger, a little bit more juicy wash than over here. But well, heck, I think this was already yeah, that one's still dry. So let's check that out. Okay, teacher, I'm gonna just get a little bit, it's off camera, I know, but a little bit more of the Quinn Rose and layer it in on this second layer, just to try to make it more of a fair comparison. But yeah, it's fun when you start really developing your eye to really be able to kind of see those differences. It's occurring to me that it's gonna, the more red that's in the mix, the greater the difference is going to be. But as we get to just sort of more blue and less of a red, then it's the blue that's going to take over, and we'll, you know, make these pretty similar as we get down here. Although it does still seem like, yeah. Anyways, oh, that's fun. I could do this all day. Okay, go check it out.